Welcome into the lounge, single players. Today we're talking about our marketplace, my personal thoughts, and some pros and cons, and then a how-to guide if it's going to end up being for you. Also, if you stick around, you might end up getting a $5 off coupon that you can spend in the marketplace and get yourself a nice video game. So let's get into it. So what is single player lounge? I feel like this is an important question that needs to be really answered before you think about joining the marketplace. The single player lounge is a place where any gamer who loves single player games can join and become a part of a community where we can both buy and sell games that we love and enjoy. And I would much rather us be able to do that than have to trade in games at another store location. So many of you probably don't know, I used to actually sell my video games on eBay, and I did okay with it, but honestly, I really enjoy doing it more on District now because of the fact of building a community, first of all, and even really more importantly, I get to support other gamers and help them find games that they really want to play and that I've enjoyed, and also so that I can be able to make money off of those games that I've already sold and then buy new games that I want to play. And so being able to support other gamers is a really big part of it for me. But let's head on and look at some of the pros and cons of selling on the marketplace. So let's head on and jump on to there now. All right, so for the first thing that is really just a pro and a con, because it's usually on eBay and other places, it's the seller protection. Basically just describe your item accurately and package it to the best of your ability, because if it does get damaged in transit, the item itself, not the package, then the seller protection is no longer valid. Another thing is the fees. Here on our marketplace, we're going to have it at 10%, which is pretty standard across other marketplaces on District. If you're doing it on eBay, it's roughly between like 12 to 15% of it. They do include the credit card fee or the card fee that is done, so it ends up being about the same amount. Although with eBay, there's also the positive and negative side of eBay does have a much larger audience, so you can get more views, but at the same time, there's a lot more competition, and so it can make it harder. And so therefore, if you needed to promote your item, then it would end up being higher in fees for eBay, but it'll take a little bit longer to sell on District, and that's perfectly fine with me just because of what I was talking about earlier and my reasoning for selling on here. And one of the nice things about this District marketplace is the buyer protection. Also, just for sellers, is the fact of that they can only report it within 48 hours of delivery or within 10 days of making the purchase. So it's shorter than eBay for sure. Another nice thing about selling on District is the referral program. And so if you end up finding someone who's never actually been on District, or if you yourself have never been on District, you can head on and click on the referral code. I've got that down below. And so you'll get $5 off of your order, at least a minimum of $10. And then also as a seller, you would receive a $5 District credit as well. So you can go buy some more games. It's just an awesome cycle. So if all that seems like something that you're interested in, then what you can do is head on and apply to be a seller. But the seller dashboard is this little icon right here. So if you click on there, it'll take you to your seller dashboard. It might look a little bit different. In order to list an item, we'll start with that. You go down here and click list an item. On here, you can select it like that, and it'll keep them in order. And so what I end up doing is just showing the main cover photo and then just other details about the game and the case that I think as a buyer I would want to know about. So if it requires internet and such like that. And then you can come here and put the title of the game and then what console. That's typically what I do. Like if it's limited edition, I'll do that. And then here in the description, you can just describe any flaws and if you've tested it and things like that. And you can set your price, and also if you want to accept offers on it or not, and then the quantity, and then fulfillment. So you can select for other places besides the United States. I've only got it selected for the United States. I probably could set it for Canada. You click on there, and then you can select if you want to do free, flat, or calculated shipping, and it's fairly intuitive. Just make sure you select United States if that's where you're at, and then the zip code, and then the item's dimensions, and then I always do the discounted as well. And then if you wanted to do priority, then it gives you that option, and then it shows the price ranges for each of them. And then just make sure that it is the right fulfillment, because I've noticed if I start off with one that's 8 ounces and then I go to say a collector's edition that's a pound, then the next item I try and list, it'll think it's at a pound. So you just have to change it if the the weight and such is different, but most of the time games are like 8 ounces or so. And then the next thing we have is collections, or I guess what I call tags. I've got it set up where you can select the console. So this one I believe was a PS3 game. And then, I don't remember, I'll just say it's a baseball game. I think it was. And then just head on and select save. And then there's the earnings calculator. And then you hit publish, which I'm not going to do that because I've already actually got this game listed. If you do have an offer, so there's accept, there's a counter offer, and there's decline. So here you go to orders. Once you click on orders, then you can head on and just view all the information from that order, the address and all that. I'm going to hide that. But here you can see if you, for example, need to give a refund, then you can head on and do that. For the actual fulfillment, you'll actually need to go to the fulfillment tab, and that's where you can head on and click. Normally would say create a label. I don't have a current order. There's either the custom one where you can add in the tracking number if you're doing it through a third party like Pirate Ship or something, and then also there's the regular create a label, and it's you go through and then it'll have you change the weight and dimensions if you need to. So another thing that I actually meant to mention earlier is this really cool thing that they've added here on District. It's called Magic Comments, and if you're on Facebook or Instagram, essentially it's just a way for your community to claim and check out through when they comment on it and say they're interested. Another thing to be aware of is if you have a buyer that doesn't pay, then they do have 48 hours, as you can see and read through here. And also within those 48 hours, that it'll automatically put it back into their cart. But after that point, then you can either choose to contact support and they can add it back to the buyer's cart, or if you're just wanting to move on and relist it, then you can head on and do that as well. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was vacation mode. If you ever need to use it, you just go to your seller dashboard. Make sure it's the seller dashboard. I made this mistake before. And then go up here and click your profile. And then you've got different options here. But you do have the vacation mode. And then you can turn it on and then turn it back off. And if you have any items that have a like or a watch or whatever you want to call it, then what you can do is you can click on the item and make sure to view the listing, and then it gives you an option to send offer right there. All right, and so arguably probably the best or most important part is this option right here. There's a seller chat that you'll have an option of as a seller. Then you can always message me here and ask any questions, and that way I can head on and try and help if you can't find it on the helpdistrict.net. So anyways, I'm aware it's not for everyone. I do sincerely believe that it is the best place for buying and selling of single player games. So even if you're not interested in the selling part, I would love to do business with you as a buyer and as a community. So just make sure to follow us on the marketplace. And again, if you haven't been on District before, then head on and check out that referral code to get that $5 off. But until next time, y'all have fun playing single player games.